Hello once again for more Duelyst with Blatm.
Hey, hey.
We've got Nangert vs Omega. These two had a pretty good run so far, but only one of them can make it to the semi-finals. Yeah, we've seen both these players before, but it'll be interesting to see how they match up against each other here. You got Nangert on Vitruvian and Lionar.
This is a really cool deck combo because this Lionar deck is kind of geared towards, playing like very late game, but not the most late game imaginable. And it's really sort of an anti-mid-range, anti-aggro deck. And Nangert's other deck, Sabotage, is amazing against the decks that are even more late game than the Lionar deck. Because if you're playing a bunch of big threats and your opponent is running 3 Blind Scorch Zenrui, 2 Dominate Will, 2 Mirage Master, like you can't ever play your big stuff, right? You can get completely crushed. So it's a really clever deck lineup from Nangert.
Yeah, it's interesting that we haven't seen too much Vitruvian in this tournament. Seen a lot of Magma, Lionar, and Abyssian, not quite so much Songhai, Vanar, and Vitruvian. Vitruvian in particular seems like a bit of a niche choice, but I do sort of agree with your assessment there. It's got complementing strategies here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this Vitruvian deck. I think Nangert is more of a Lionar player, so we might just see the Lionar. But the Vitruvian deck here is really, really cool. I also like the triple Third Wish. That's a good way to keep your health total up. There's no rejuve in this list, but because you've got the Third Wishes, you can sort of get away with it.
Yeah, and I'm happy to see Mirage Master finally make its way into deck lists after years of being a bit of a joke, because now that it can target your own minions, you can be a bit of a proactive approach with it. You don't just have to hope that your opponent plays something taking.
Yeah, it's a really big buff. In these slow Sabo games, you're very often going to find yourself with an Archon on board for one reason or another, and then being able to play 4-mana Archons with your Mirage Master is really, really good.
Indeed. We'll see how Omega is able to handle it with his sort of similar kind of late gaminess. The Lionar deck's pretty mid-range. This Control Magmar might struggle against that kind of style.
It's really tricky because the Omega's Lionar deck is something that's going to lose pretty hard to Nangert's Lionar deck, I think. Just because if your opponent is playing Martyrdoms and then bringing them back with Twilight Sorcerer, for example, that's really hard for the more mid-rangey Lionars to deal with. But this Magmar deck is exactly the kind of deck that the Sabotage deck wants to play against. So it's gonna be tricky for Omega. I'm looking forward to see how they decide to tackle the set as a whole.
Yeah, let's find out.
Yeah, as we do see the Sabotage. That's amazing.
Nangert's got a pretty nice opening hand here with double 2-drops. So I guess they just replace the other card there. Try and find a 4-drop or something.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Sabo deck. Siphon Energy does basically nothing against Omega's deck. I think you can use it on like a Silverguard Knight or something, or you can use it to get rid of the Archon effect. But
on that, yeah.
Playing around Arclight Sentinel.
Yeah, the bottom right positioning. Otherwise, Omega can move their Rush Crawler 2 forward and snipe if they place it behind them. Which, often Blast Minions do get placed in the center tile. So now putting it there out of the range, but it did give Omega the opportunity just to walk up and keep his Rush Crawler safe. But Tempest is going to make all of this pretty moot.
Some deja vu.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
I mean, I think that this is sort of a lot of people are inclined to try and get the Pyromancer on like a really opportune space, but having one on board basically anywhere is really good. So
Yeah, sometimes even if it can't attack, just like controlling your opponent's position to be suboptimal has a little value. Probably not 2 damage turn value, but you know, it'll start getting there eventually.
yeah, I mean, Nangert is absolutely the more late game of the two decks. Wow, leaving the I'm a little surprised that the Omega's leaving the mini jacks up. You can just not hit the Jaxi and make your opponent trade it in if you want to. So I wonder if Omega has a plan. Maybe the signals that they have a Tempest in hand or something.
Yeah, like the way the board's set up, this 1 damage like wasn't actually contributing to clearing anything. So maybe they just figured they can start work on it, take it out this turn, and it'll be done forever rather than just putting it off. They, you know, took a couple of extra damage, but actually this range minion is now dead, so
yeah,
no big deal.
That's a great point. That concretely, the mini Jax isn't really doing anything this turn, and yeah, might as well get to work on it, right? Like it's where's it gonna run? Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So Omega's list only runs 2 Martyrdom, so Nangert might be inclined to play the Archon here.
Yeah, they're kind of behind on board, but if Omega doesn't have the answer, he's going to have to trade it all in to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, Omega definitely has a lot of minions on board, but the 2/1/2s aren't really doing that much. So I think just slamming Archon makes a lot of sense. But it also makes this Mirage Master in hand much better, right? So they don't have to Mirage Master a 2/4.
Yeah, that wasn't a particularly great move they did last turn. It has set Omega up with this board advantage, but now they have to go ahead and actually make use of it. See what they've got to spend 6 mana on.
Oh no. This is sort of all according to plan for the Sabo deck, I think.
Yeah, this Regalia is such a nice turn with the Mirage Master and the Rash's Gas. It's just a bit too nice.
Yeah, I mean, not even replacing the Blind Scorch, just saying like this is the best thing I could possibly have.
Yeah, well, I think they're in a comfortable spot now with 2 Archons, and if Omega tries to play a minion-based threat, Nangert's pretty likely to draw into Zenru at some point. So.
Yeah, I mean, Nangert has been through his 2 Mirage Masters, so it's at least a little bit more reasonable for Omega to play their own Archons, but it's still really hard to do that. You can't play them in range of the general because they're going to get Dominate Willed, and the way around Blind Scorch and Rui is to build up enough of a board presence that when your opponent goes and Blind Scorch and Rui's it, then it has 0 attack, and you can just clear it. But that's still not great, and it gives them a lot of room. This is a really nice turn.
Yeah, Nangert obviously had a bad turn. He also made an interesting decision there to replace the Dream Gazer. Like, he was hoping he'd be able to draw into something, right? What was he hoping he'd draw into? Because he could have just, like, cast the Dream Gazer, saved himself 2 HP, and replaced the Siphon Energy. Which, as we, mentioned, is pretty unplayable in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think that at some point 2 health becomes more important than 2 mana, but I think that Nangert's turn is really actually not that bad because a lot of the sabotage, ethos, the philosophy is that, you just say, hey, you do whatever you want, I'm just going to steal it. I think that's sort of what we're seeing Nangert do. And they've got the one-time Maelstrom to really lock up the late game.
Yeah, running one-time Maelstrom is pretty interesting because obviously you can have these late game situations where you just chain them together. But I don't think having like just one as a little extra is too bad either.
Yeah, I think it's that a lot of the Sabo games end up being these standoffs, and then just having one to go find when you need it is gonna be enough.
Yeah.
Though at this point, Nangert is starting to be a bit worried. Their health is. Oh, this Blind Scorch on Windblade Adept is
still going to be a 2-3,
usually
right?
not where you want to be. Yeah, it's not the worst, but could be a lot better. Nangert at least getting his opponent to heal.
And just to expand your point about Time Maelstrom a little bit more, sometimes if you're the first one to move, that means you're the second one to attack and your opponent gets to dictate all the trades. As Time Maelstrom lets you be the first one to move and the first one to attack, and so breaks that usual paradigm.
This was a situation where I wonder if Nangert did consider siphoning the Windblade.
Yeah, it was obviously important enough to blind scorch it for a -2 attack for one turn. And yeah, it's not like there's many other uses for the card. Sometimes if you like find a situation where like it's finally actually doing something, it can be pretty reasonable to take that opportunity.
Saving the Rasha's Curse for another Regalia. Regalia can absolutely run away with stuff if you're not careful, and Nangert isn't really going to have other ways of dealing with that card just because their deck is so light on minions.
Mm-hmm. This is the kind of situation that actually can be slightly tough for the Sabotage deck when your opponent isn't playing like single big fat minions, when they're playing multiple kind of smallish ones. For sure, you don't have the best swarm clear.
Yeah, I think that Omega is just going to replace basically every Archon that they see. I mean, it sort of would be a terrible idea to to play any of this. Here, Nangert is probably fishing for Zenrui. They'd really like to blind scorch Zenrui, maybe one of these rejubes.
Yeah, and I think they're going to play this other Poor Guardian because it's pretty important to get the one currently on board to 4 attack, I think. Or maybe you could blind scorch the 4/4, but I think maybe just holding onto the blind scorch is.
Nangert only plays 2 blind scorch, and they've been through one of them. So if you play the second one, then suddenly, that's both blind scorches. That's one dominate will. That's both Mirage Master. Suddenly, Omega can start playing their Archons. So I think Nangert really doesn't want to, play this blind scorch unless it's going to sort of end up, basically running away with the game.
Nice. I'm always happy to see a Sundrop come down to save a minion. Especially as that. Or Omega's probably hoping it'll translate into 4 damage on Nangert's already battered body. I don't think we're going to see it though. I think we're going to have a Rasha's Curse here.
Yeah, I mean it's nice play by Omega that they even sort of sequence the Tempests in a way that's like, hey, you sure you don't want to let me have this one durability Regalia? Just one durability. What's the big deal?
Are they really gonna? Oh, they're gonna steal it. Okay.
Kind of surprised, because now Nangert is pretty much out of ways to deal with the opponent's Archons. So, if Omega, I mean, you know, it's sort of 14 cards in deck at this point, and Omega runs 3 Archons, so they're almost certainly going to slam one here. Yeah. They just have the one Dominate Will to play around, and it's really not difficult to play around that.
Yeah, it is interesting because they've obviously had to play around there, but it also means that Nangert gets to just run away. But I don't think that's too bad because the Archon just being on board was stopping like this time Maelstrom. So
yeah, it's a little annoying because now Nangert is going to run all the way to the other end of the board, right? It's going to be 4 turns before that Archon reaches, or more. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what Omega's plan is. Does he have a way to win from across the board?
Maybe here it's just fear of the time Maelstrom.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something to indeed think of being worried about because if you like play a time Maelstrom and somehow get a big Portal Guardian on the next turn, it's nothing to sneeze at. And the fact that Nangert's even running Dominate Will in his deck is just forcing Omega into this pretty rough line of play.
I think Omega does run Sunblooms. Maybe Nangert forgot about that. I guess Omega doesn't have them. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah, 2 Sunblooms.
Yeah, they got a couple in their deck, yeah.
Yeah. I guess at this point, Omega is thinking about fatigue, right? So this is... So Nangert has 11 cards, and Omega has 10. So, at this point, you start counting what those 11 cards are, what those 10 cards are, and be like,
Yeah, and Omega's way ahead on HP if it comes to it.
Which collection of cards is better, right? I think that here, Omega has a really strong argument that triple Archon is not something that Nangert's remaining cards can really deal with.
I wonder if it's possible for there to be a stalemate where both players are at 6 cards in hand with, their minions they're, happy with, quote unquote, on board, but neither player wants to be the one to walk up first.
Yeah, I think that absolutely can happen. Here you see Nangert offering a trade, saying, "Hey, do you want to trade your Archon?" And wow, and Omega says, "Yes, I do." I guess Omega is thinking that, hey, the only thing you have in your deck that's actually scary is that Portal Guardian. So you can also see stuff like Nangert not playing the Pyromancer, right, because of fear of fatigue.
Yeah, Pyromancer would be alright though, like it chips away to a turn.
Yeah, so here one of the players needs to figure out a way to to try and break through. I mean, I'm a little surprised because I feel like there's certainly some clear plans that the players could formulate, right? Nangert doesn't really want to siphon immediately right now because they know that as soon as they siphon, Omega's just going to play the 3rd Archon. So, that's sort of siphoning doesn't accomplish a ton in this situation. The 3rd wishes are really nice answers to the Silverguard Knights, but Omega here is kind of positioning in such a way that it's pretty scary to go in 3rd wish here. You're not at a very high life total, and you're close to a lot of Omega's minions.
I wasn't wondering if we were just going to see both players agree to a draw there or something. That would have been interesting. But luckily, Omega's decided to take the initiative, do the first move. So we're gonna see that stalemate broken.
Yeah, I wonder if Fate had sort of clause for good draws, but I don't think this is a situation where it'd be reasonable to draw. I think that Omega is actually quite far ahead in the situation.
Yeah, and if people have been following, you should be able to at this point know exactly what cards your opponent has left.
Yeah, you can tell that they're keeping track of this, as evidenced by the fact that Omega waited until all of Nangert's answers to Archon were spent, and then only then just started playing all of their Archons. So Omega realistically is only going to be able to play one more card, which is going to be the third Archon, I assume, and Nangert, they have to decide what cards they're going to play. Playing Third Wish here makes a lot of sense because that was kind of Omega's plan for dealing with this Pyromancer.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, how are you going to deal with it, right? I mean, playing an Archon doesn't deal with it, and it's kind of scary to just let it be,
So that Siphon Energy frees up the possibility to play Tide Maelstrom. I don't know if that's that good.
Wow, okay, so Omega here is not playing the Archon? Okay. So choosing to enter Fatigue and saying, I'm just gonna kill you before it matters, which makes a lot of sense.
You may have already seen it, right? We oh no, that was that Mirage Master. Oh no, that was Nangert's. They may have already played it though. I did lose track.
Oh no, yeah. If they already did, then that changes things quite substantially. Then I'm quite surprised at why.
I mean, it's not like that line is bad either, right? And, Nangert didn't have an answer tool there, just enough minions.
Yeah, they were just completely overwhelmed at the end, and nothing they could do, even with the Time Maelstrom.
That was a rather unique game. That's sort of something that people said coming into this Duelyst 2 sort of patch, that games can go to Fatigue more often. We're seeing it there. Both players skipping turns for 3 or 4 turns in a row, hoping the other will make them first move.
Yeah, it's much more of like a long strategic, deck versus deck kind of thing. It's really fun to have those games.